Well, hey there, everyone. Doggin Days here, and today we'll be doing what I expect to be the last or among the last of the Tournament Diaries series that we started at the beginning of 2025, and specifically today we will be focusing this finale episode, this final installment of this series, on what is a very, very long overdue recap of GenCon 2025 and the Heroscape World Championship, which I had the privilege and pleasure of attending with a great group of people, played some incredible games, and I want to spend a little bit of time today to talk about it. I also want to talk a little bit about why I've been so absent from content creation for a while. I got personally very burnt out of Heroscape following GenCon. I went to a couple more tournaments and I wanted to make Tournament Diary videos like this, but it was getting to a point where I just couldn't keep up. And that plus all of the releases that Renegade was putting out for Heroscape, which we celebrate. I was happy to see that Heroscape was coming this alive and there were so many new releases, but it kind of just reached an overload point for me and I had to kind of step away from it and step away from content creation from YouTube. But I feel that I'm coming out of that, and especially going into the new year, I think that I will, my interest in Heroscape will be pretty quickly and fully reinvigorated. But in any case, I wanted to talk today about GenCon 2025, and I wanted to get this video out a little bit earlier, but as you may be able to tell, I'm recovering from a pretty severe cold, so I might sound a little under the weather, but I think I'm well enough to tackle this. So just as we've done for all of our other videos, I'll go over some of the games I played, the theory crafting, the format, and but GenCon 2025 is pretty old news at this point. We all know who won the World Championship, so we'll get to all that, but this is my humble contribution to kind of the recaps that everyone have been putting out about that wonderful, wonderful convention. So we will dive into the format as we always do. So this is GenCon, as you all know, is a big tabletop gaming convention. This is GenCon Indiana, so it's in Indianapolis at the Indianapolis Convention Center, and this was held from July 31st to August 2nd of 2025, and this is the contemporary format. So it is just figures that are currently available through Renegade. No classic figures, no D&D, all contemporary. And that is, from what I understand, going to be the standard going forward for all of these major tournaments like the World Championship or Valkyrie Trials. It's going to be all contemporary. Now, they did actually have, I didn't participate in this, unfortunately, but there was an all-time challenge at the event that was hosted by Renegade. And so this was, it wasn't quite the World Championship, but it was a way to bring classic figures to a Renegade sanctioned event. So they did have a way to celebrate classic and D&D figures from the past. The unit pool, predictably, is all contemporary figures, and so at the time this was all figures up through the boiling tension wave, up through and including boiling tension, and then the points was 425 Renegade points, and then the figure limit was 14 figures. This was a really good format, and it produced a lot of theory crafting challenges, and it was a genuinely fun format to play with, and we'll come to this a little bit later, but even though the unit pool was pretty limited, only those contemporary units released through Boiling Tension, I actually appreciated that on a certain level. I appreciated the point limit, the figure limit, and kind of the limited unit pool. It was very refreshing, and it kind of reduced a lot of background noise that you sometimes have to deal with when you're thinking about the huge pantheon of official Heroscape units when you're theory crafting for, I guess, more traditional events, where all-time formats are allowed. Removing all that, not have to worry about Heavy Gruts, Knights of Weston, all those major builds that are usually meta for all-time formats. I don't know, I found it personally really refreshing, and I do not mind the pivot toward contemporary only for upcoming major tournaments that Renegade hosts. So I will just say, from speaking for myself, I did enjoy that. So that was the format for this event. And I did want to go over some of the prizes, because Renegade put out a quite a number of prizes at different tiers for how far you went into the event. So the World Championship was over the course of 3 days. So day one was, I believe anyone could join. I think there was a player cap, but anyone could join. You didn't need to have won a store championship in the past to get into day one. And day one was a kind of an opening qualifier. So if you had not won one of the store championships that was held in 2025, if you did win a store championship, you got an automatic buy into day 2 of the World Championship. But if you still wanted to try for day 2, you could do that through day 1 of this event. And so just for showing up, just for participating, you would get this really cool t-shirt that has Leviatech slashing at Utgar. And I believe this is one of the very few actual official artistic depictions of the Valkyrie Utgar. And so that was really cool. And then you get that World Championship logo on the back. That was great to see. And then in addition to this, just for showing up or just for qualifying for day 2, I should say, I got these, even though I didn't participate in day 1 effectively, because I had that store championship win and the day 2 buy. I still got these anyway. So in any case, you got this great gold-based Raylan the Kyrie Warrior from Boiling Tension, her 4th incarnation, and she was a major kind of tentpole marquee figure, and there was a giant Raylan sculpture that was outside the Heroscape area. It was prominently on display, and so they were really trying to push her. But you got this great figure in a cool box, and the box itself had like a World Championship sticker on it. I still hung on to the box because I thought it was cool, but you do get this, and then you also get like a really nice, like kind of a thicker cardboard with silver foil. It was a really well produced card. And so you got an exclusive Raylan figure, and then you also got kind of a neat World Championship pin for 2025, so that was really cool too. And now we go on to the day 2 participation prizes. So if you qualified for day 2, or if you got the buy for day 2 as a store champion, or if you qualified from playing well in day 1, then you get, the premium plastic card came from day 2. So the foil card you would get in the box that you would get from Raylan, it was still really nice. It was really cool. But then you got like a premium plastic card, this really nice material, and kind of wish that all Heroscape cards were made out of this material. It was really nice, but also had some silver foil on it. You would get that as well. And then you'd also get a custom set of combat dice and a D20. The dice don't in fact look like this. This is when they were announcing the prizes before the World Championship. This was kind of a preliminary image of the dice. The dice are actually more like a kind of foggy, translucent. They're really beautiful, but they didn't quite look like this. One common complaint, and a complaint that I agree with some of the dice sets that Renegade has been rolling out, is that the skulls and the shields don't have the red and the blue respectively, like in classic Heroscape dice. So whenever you roll, you kind of have to squint to make sure you're seeing the right number of symbols. And that's a problem. From what I understand, they're going to fix that, but that wasn't the case for this. So kind of more of a prize piece. Not something I would play with, especially since I don't think they're going to reproduce this set again. They're not going to sell this set again. It was just for, making it to day 2. So I have it kind of in a nice box, but I don't really bring it out to play with it. It's just nice to sort of look at. But anyway, it was a really cool dice set for the engravement. That was that. And then for the top 32 prizes, so this was effectively if you made it to day 3. So the first 2 days were Swiss. So basically the top performers in the Swiss for the first 2 days would qualify for day 3, which was single elimination. So that would be the top 32 players from the first 2 days of Swiss. And so if you made it to day 3, you didn't have to win any games on day 3. You would get this really beautiful set of order markers with gold lettering, kind of a nice blue, kind of a metallic bluish color, really beautiful. And then you got an order marker shield, which is a piece of gameplay equipment I don't often play with, but it's nice to have it there. If you're in a really intense game, and it's just like you cannot afford to let you just cannot afford to show your hand or show off your order marker placement. When the stakes are really high, it's nice to have one of these. And so there was this official order marker shield with the cool artwork on it. So you would get that too if you made it to day 3. And then for the top 16 players in day 3, you would get this beautiful foil glyph set. Including some of the Xenothax Vines glyphs, so that was beautiful. They had that on display, so you could see the glyphs. You couldn't, you can look, but you can't touch. So you could admire the glyphs and know that they were going to some of the best players of that day, of that World Championship. And then the top 4 prizes there would be a dice tower and a dice box, both with the World Championship logo on it. Those are really beautiful. Then for the finalists would both get a glass trophy. So the second place would get the smaller glass trophy. They would get a badge for GenCon 2026 and then a buy into day 2 of the World Championship for 2026. And then finally, as we all know, the first place winner, the world champion, would get a large glass trophy. They would get all the same things that second place got, plus they would get their name anagrammed onto a future Heroscape hero for a Valkyrie of their choice. And so we all know who won. We'll get to that. But yeah, it was... I mean, it motivated. It sure motivated. That sounded pretty cool. So, yeah, a lot of really cool prizes for this tournament. Now we'll talk about the theory crafting, and I will specifically talk about the people that I attended this event with. So I often go to local Heroscape tournaments with my friends, and there's kind of a group of regulars that we meet at these tournaments. But for the World Championship, I had the pleasure of going with 4 other regional fellows from Southern California. So if you can't tell, I'm sure if you've seen some of the other tournament videos I've done, all the stores I play at are in California. So now I'm an obnoxious Californian, but that's how it goes. So, we kind of came up with the name Team SoCal. I don't know where that name sort of came from, but we latched onto it and we liked it. And then one of our team members made this beautiful graphic for us, and so we kind of bonded over this. These were this was all 5 of us who were going to GenCon that year and playing hard for the World Championship. So we'll go over them first. So first was Brandon. This is Bloodgear 14 AD. I believe that's his name on both the Battle Network and on Heroscape.org. Great guy, store manager at Card Addiction, which is a store I've played at many times. Great guy to have in any event. And then there was Kyle, aka Dutch Bandit, great player as well. I believe that's his handle both on the Battle Network and on .org. Played him many times, and he's great to play with. And then after that came Oscar, also known as Ella. So we'll get to what the asterisk mean, but Oscar is a great player, and I think at this stage Oscar has beaten me more times than I've beaten him. So take that for what you will. Then we had Roxanne, aka Risklaw, someone who I almost got a second store championship win in 2025, but she took it from me, and she deserved it. So that was great, and congrats to her. Another great player. And then finally, yours truly, Doggin Days. So all these 5 players, we were all going to Gen Con, but the asterisks that you see on the names, those are the people who won a store championship somewhere in our area, or I guess around the world, but mostly in our area. So Oscar did not win a store championship. I think he got very close at one point, but he just, for whatever reason, wasn't able to clinch it. But that's okay. He was still able to go, and he was still able to get in day 1 and fight for his spot in day 2. So we were really pulling for him and hoping that he would be able to join us on day 2 as well. So 4 out of 5 of us were going to day 2, and so it just sort of felt like we gotta build a team. We gotta build a team. We gotta practice, and we gotta represent our region. So it was really exciting, and it added a new dimension to the theory crafting and the playing and the practicing, and it was a great time. And because it was such a good time, normally in these videos I like to do a whole theory crafting session where I talk about the figures that I was thinking about, the armies that I was interested in bringing. But for this time specifically, I'm actually going to loop them in. So a while back I recorded a little session with all of us discussing our theory crafting process, recapping our practice sessions, and going over the different builds until we arrived at our final builds. And so I've taken that recording, I've edited it, and I've cleaned it up, and basically I want to turn this recording, at least this part of the video, over to our wonderful Team SoCal so we can talk about our group theory crafting session. All right, and we are now recording, and I have the pleasure of being joined by everyone on our self-styled Team SoCal. So that is 5 people, myself included. And I will go ahead and give the floor for any brief intros that you guys want to make. I'll call you guys out as you're appearing up on my screen. So Brandon, welcome to the recording.
Hello. Yeah, my name's Brandon or Bloodgear on it seems like most of the Discords right now. I am one of the managers in Card Addiction, and I also am the we run all the tournaments at Card Addiction as well, primarily. So that's me.
Fantastic. Well, fantastic. Yeah, thank you for joining. And then we'll go to Dutch or Kyle.
Hey everyone, Dutch. Relatively new to Heroscape, but it's been a fun year kind of diving in and getting Heroscape built.
Based in Heroscape build. We love it. We love it. All right, Ella, feel free to say anything you'd like about yourself.
Hey, I'm Ella. I am retired from Heroscape after less than a year, but I'm still forced to play by Risk Law, so here I am.
We're working on it. We're working on unretiring him. Great. Yeah. Thanks for joining. And then finally, the aforementioned Risk Law.
Hello, I'm Risk Law. My real name's Roxanne. I've been playing Heroscape since October/November, and I think it's great.
Great. We're thrilled that you think it's great. That's great. Yeah. And Roxanne, you were a major driver of a lot of our practice sessions for GenCon. I'm going to say that originally I wanted to do a GenCon video for the channel. I was thinking of doing kind of my usual thing where I'll talk for 48 hours just by myself. But then I spoke with Brandon and he said, why don't we all gather everyone together? And I thought that actually sounds like a great idea. And I think the main thing I want us all to talk about was our theory crafting and our practice sessions, because I feel like we bonded as players. We were able to share ideas, compare army builds, test army builds. We really got into online Heroscape, and I really enjoyed the process. Hopefully everyone else here did. But I want to open up the floor to hear your guys' thoughts about what you learned about the game and what our thinking process was with the format we were given for the World Championship, the armies that we started out with, kind of our initial intuition of what we thought would be strong for the format, and then what we learned through practicing, and then eventually leading into what we ultimately decided for what we would bring to the World Championship. So I remember when I first started joining you guys, I was talking with Kyle Dutch about his thinking process, and I remember he was saying that he thinks right now, or at that time, the trick to understanding, or what's going to be key to mastering the GenCon format, would be understanding Queen Maledrix and the Festering Honor Guard. And I hate to put you on the spot, Kyle, but it felt like that was a good intro to kind of our initial thinking. And you had a couple different armies that you were analyzing, and so I'll give it to you, and feel free anyone to jump in.
I mean, I feel like we went through 500 different builds, right? How do you slot in Queen Maledrix? What's every permutation of support? I remember my first kind of build that I was really liking was Queen Mal, Honor Guard, Q9, and the Acolytes, right? Felt really good, felt really powerful, and I think that's what I first practiced with when we all got together. And it did great, except for the few games where, I think I might have said, where Q11 just gets instantly killed, right? And then, you go from there on, do I want the Tanukis with Queen Mal? Or, what's the best support if you're looking at that Queen Mal core? Because she's just one scary queen. And then obviously the, Infest is just an insane power swing if you can, get it right at a key moment. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I started, and then how it kind of evolved from practice.
I know that when you were doing you really wanted to force the Acolytes onto the team.
I really did.
You kind of gave up on Q11, although I thought it was the strongest one to go with your Acolytes, because you were able to just move in with Q11 as your starter. And normally in the first turn, you can't really attack anyone with your ranged character. But with Q11, you'd be able to pretty much guarantee a kill on one of your Acolytes with your ranged special attack. And then, I mean, I thought it was pretty strong, but I don't know why you gave up on it. I don't know if it was just because of the whole he gets destroyed whenever he's on your team, and when it's on the enemy team, he just never dies.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it was like the map control, right? Q11's really strong, and obviously, if I'm gonna kill acolytes, I kind of want to lead Q11, get those ping shots on my acolytes, get that respawn going. But then you just have one kind of hero center of board while your opponent's developing, whether that's like Maladrix or Exiles or the Tanuki, and now all of a sudden you have like no board pressure, even though yeah, you have a strong hero maybe on height, but against strong glyphs, it can put you in an awkward position, especially once Q11 dies and now you want to develop Maladrix or something to that effect, and it just felt a little clunky. Maybe that was just my misplay of often trying to lead him to get the acolyte respawn, and maybe the proper play is really lead Maladrix, get the map control, then bring up your Q11. But then now it felt like you're not really getting that acolyte respawn, which I thought would be really kind of fun and cool, but opted out of it as we went to GenCon with Tanukis and things like that.
I don't think you ever tried to do alternating on round 1, like maybe one turn on Q just to get those acolytes kills, and also moving them up a bit in case the queen ends up dying after you push in with the queen for the first, second, and third round. He'd be in a better position to just immediately reinforce the team. I don't know if you ever tried that, but
yeah, that's a good point. Like the order marker sequencing. Right?
Yeah.
That's what's fun about Heroscape, right? You could replay the same army in different orders, and all of a sudden it looks a little better than maybe originally in practice.
For sure, yeah. And I remember Queen Maladrix Honor Guard, that felt essential, and I remember us initially. We kind of came to the Tanukis. Spoiler alert. That's something we, I think, slowly developed too. But the Exiles was another unit that I forget if you mentioned that, Kyle, but that was one we felt that initially felt pretty essential, or that we had to include in our army. It was Maladrix, Exiles, and then whatever else we were filling it out with. I wrote off the Acolytes pretty significantly in my planning and in my theory crafting for my army, and then in anticipating what I would be facing, and I paid dearly for it, but that's another story. I feel we should maybe talk a little bit about any thoughts we had about the Exiles, because they seemed, it felt like that was an intuition a lot of us had.
Yeah, no, I know my original build had or not acolytes, Exiles. I just felt like they were too good to pass up at the time.
Yeah.
With being able to outrange most things. Sure, you have to spend a powder, and you only do that once per round. But I felt like they were just too solid. They can outrange too many things. You can get too much board pressure real quick. But I ended up not going with them because Tanukis are good. Tanukis are really good.
They really are. And it shouldn't be any spoiler to the people who are watching this that Tanukis ended up taking the world championship, but we'll gradually make our way to Tanukis. I want to work through one of the other early builds that I think, Brandon, you were contemplating, and Roxanne, you were also contemplating, and this was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Maladrix, Honor Guard, Exiles, and then the Frost Claws with no champion to bond with.
Oh,
yeah. Here, I said my piece. Roxanne, you go with it. I'm curious what you were thinking.
I think that's like the team I originally had started with when we were doing in-person practice. It went really well. The only thing that I didn't like about the Frost Claws is that they kept dying really quick, and I didn't like how squishy they were. So I needed to change them up, and I think that's why I ended up changing my team. Well, my final team for the GenCon.
They're not supposed to be squishy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they would just die.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
Yeah, well, it seemed like in our hands, everything was a little squishy.
Yeah.
Especially when you have that pressure, of like, I'm going to the world championship. As soon as a figure dies, you're like, oh, this unit's a piece of trash, whatever. But,
yeah.
Yeah, but
you only have 14 characters at most.
Yeah, that's worth mentioning too. I'm sure I brought it up, earlier in the video at the time that I'm uploading this to YouTube. But yeah, the format was 14 figure limit, and that did influence a lot of our planning too. I remember, Roxanne, you were pretty committed to the Bears for the Bears Exile Honor Guard Maladrix build. I remember you were feeling pretty strongly about that, and you were not the only person I saw bring that exact army to GenCon outside of our team anyway. but we did eventually move away from it. And I remember, Kyle, you were reading I guess the bigger competitive Heroscapers Discord, which right now I'm not a part of. I don't know why I'm not a part of it, but you were kind of plugged into that pretty, deeply, and you pulled up a list of armies that people were recommending or that were testing well, that there was a lot of good data on. And I remember at one point we all kind of we zeroed in. We zeroed in on I think we called it like the figure spam army, and this was Maledrix, Honor Guard, Exiles, and then the Bug Ball. But you have to drop one figure from that because I think it's 15 figures. And so I remember we were feeling pretty good about that. Does anyone want to comment on that specific army? And at any point when they were thinking, I might end up running this.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I really oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was really considering that one. It was really fun in practice. There was a lot of like potential, especially in how you sequence between like leading maybe Maledrix or Exiles or even Bug Ball into who your opponent is, or who you anticipate your opponent to lead. I think why I didn't end up running it is just like the pressure of dropping a unit is so big that I just didn't feel comfortable doing that at GenCon. I think that's why I ultimately went with the Tanuki, but in practice it felt really strong. I mean, obviously Exiles are a great unit, but when you're dealing with uniques and you're dropping a figure, it just feels rough. And that's just kind of what I got from practice. Obviously, a couple people ran it at GenCon. It had solid results, and still is probably the top 3 armies. But yeah, it's not what I chose.
Roxanne, you were going to say something.
Yeah, in comparison to what Dutch had just said, I actually ended up going with this team for Gen Con. I actually like them a lot better compared to the Bears. I think it was replacing the Bears with Bug Ball. And I liked it better just because it had a hero to bond with. And then I actually liked the options, the different options that I could go with this team. It's not always the same start compared to when you have the Frost Claws. With this Bug Ball team, I felt like I had so many more different strategies to go with when I was running it through practice.
For sure, yeah.
But
go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I looked at the army, and I agree. You definitely have a lot more options, but I like to play it safe. So I ended up ultimately passing on it, just because of it's so order marker intensive, and when you're going against you're going 6 rounds of Swiss, and it's a long, it's a long tournament process between getting in the main event and then a single elimination. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to pilot this correctly over the course of the whole event. So ultimately, I ended up passing on this army.
I agree fully with that. I think it is on paper a really good army, and I think in the hands of like a math savant or someone who can perfectly predict how every battle is going to go, it could be really effective. I think one thing we did like about it, I feel, is that you do have to drop one figure, and it was usually a question of, do you drop an honor guard or do you drop an exile? My first intuition was you drop an honor guard because it's, it just feels more essential to have 4 exiles on the board. But actually there were a lot of cases where it turned out it was better to keep the full honor guard and drop an exile. I'm kind of curious what you guys thought about which one to drop and which to take.
Oof, that's tough. I think keeping all your bugs, not dropping a bug is probably the most optimal, just because being able to tank hits is a lot of value. But I can also see the argument where keeping all your exiles and trying to outgun your opponent's not a bad idea either. But I don't know. When it comes to having so few figures, I guess I would like to be a little bit more defensive, I suppose. But that's just my opinion on the matter.
Yeah, I like the map control of having full exiles, where for full honor guard. So I was typically leaning to dropping an exile, but obviously having 4 exiles is so powerful. So it really depended on who I was like facing or how I expected the map match to go based on the map. Because, you know, if you can get height really quickly with exiles and take 4 range shots, that's so strong.
Yeah.
So like if you could get that in a you know, easy turn and then get your initiative switch, then obviously on the right map you want to keep your full exiles. So it was fun kind of practicing like different options and different maps and who I was facing. Obviously didn't go with that army, but probably would have been fun. Keeps you on your toes with the options.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's where it excelled the most, is probably just the sheer amount of options you have.
And the sheer amount of figures too. I mean, it's always worth remembering that this was a pretty limited unit pool still at the time, if it was just going all contemporary. And so the considerations we had in terms of what we were facing, you know, against what we were bringing, I think that influenced a lot of our choices. And I think the idea of there weren't many armies in this format that allowed you to fill out most of your points or all of your points and the full figure limit, and this was one of them. And I just thought that board control and those options for all those different possible matchups that you have made this army great. But it is just that order marker management that was really intimidating. One last point I want to make on this was I think initially we were a little iffy on the bug ball, but I think over time we kind of recognized that in the right hands and if played well, the bug ball is pretty good. Does anyone have any thoughts on that particular unit?
I love the bug ball. Yeah, I really liked how you could always just have like skins essentially on the hero. So if he were to take like 3 hits, you could just drop a bug and it would be like nothing to him. I also liked how you could potentially gain more range from using the bugs.
You like threat range as you...
Yeah.
You get 1 more.
Yeah. I really liked how you can like just drop them off and then pick them up again. It was really fun.
Yeah. It's great if, like you say, like a hero takes a bunch of wounds. You know, if it's just a single wound, maybe put that wound on the ball itself. But if if the opponent gives you 4 wounds, you can just say no, they don't count. I'm gonna only make those. I'm gonna turn those 4 wounds into only 1 wound sustained by just getting rid of a bug. My favorite part about the bug ball was the idea of you can kind of protect a 4-figure squad as you move it up, and then when it's in the right place, you can just drop it all on the board, and it just feels like a nice way to ferry a 4 activations deeper into the board. So that was one reason that I liked it. But Roxanne, I think you were the only one who ended up going with it. Not that it was bad, but I think a lot of us did move away from it. I will briefly talk about the 2 armies that I was initially kind of feeling good about, or I guess 3, but I was really trying to make Knaves and Fiabani work. I had maybe 1 or 2 practice games with that. One of them they did really well. Another one they got curb stomped. And I love the Knaves. I love the damage potential of 5 attacks of 4, but they are too damn squishy. They die way too fast, and as soon as you lose one of them, it just... I don't know that you can rebuild the momentum. So I did not end up going with them. I really tried to make them work because I have a lot of fun playing them, but they just didn't feel up to par with some of the other strong builds we were anticipating. The other one I was thinking about was the full Eisenach build, which is it was just so cool how point optimized that was and order marker optimized it was, which is Iron Lich, what's his name, Scavareth, and then the Necrotex. And it seemed great. And I, for the same reason that we were a little apprehensive about the 14-figure army, order markers, this one felt great. You can throw all your order markers on Iron Lich and just manage it through him. I didn't end up going with it. And also, too, we should say Scavareth was just anti-Maladrix. It was great to just get 2 attacks of 7 by juicing him up and then doing his X order marker trick. And so that... on multiple practice sessions, that just assassinated Maladrix. And I thought, well, everyone's going to be bringing Maladrix. You got to have some response to her. So I felt really safe about that. But the main problem with it was the low figure count. I think it's only 5 figures. Yeah, just Scavareth, 3 balls, and then Iron Lich. And it just felt that was going to get really overwhelmed, have really poor board control. And I didn't end up going with it. But initially, that was my first thought. And then I also thought about... Halusha and the 2 familiars. Didn't end up going with it. It seemed good in theory, but it just, again, it just felt like it didn't have quite the board control that we wanted. And so I think this can segue us into the ultimate point of all of this. And I think the moment that, at least it was a revelation for me, but it felt like it was kind of a group revelation, was a practice game on OHS where Brandon brought Maladrix, Honor Guard, and 4 squads of Tanukis. And Brandon, I'm going to give it to you because that did feel like a pretty important point.
Yeah, it felt very decisive when we had our match. So initially, the reason I even went with that build in the first place was I just wanted to test it. We wanted to fight against it. I think if I remember correctly, you asked me if to playtest specifically his army, and at the time I was like, that's fine. I can help out. I can get the playtesting sessions in there. I had no intention of actually swapping my army out, and then we proceeded to play those games, and boy did it open my eye to 2-man squads doing crazy amount of things, being able to just move to 2 Tanukis and mobilize the rest of them. Basically whenever one of them dies, you can just kind of replace it with another Tanuki. It was insane, and I am so glad that we actually got that game in there, because I think ultimately that was the deciding factor in just choosing the Tanukis as like our kind of main units in some of our builds.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that your Tanuki core is 4 defense in that unit pool, that felt great. The Tanukis can go where they please. They've got 6 move with Ghost Walk, which is incredible. They've got range. Mm-hmm. They can push, and as you say, like, you can activate 2 for a full turn, and then right after that you can do their Aruki movement, and you can bring another one up, and it just feels like you can keep momentum with them. And for me, it was especially a revelation because on my channel, when I first covered the wave that they released in, I kind of wrote them off. I didn't think much of them. I just thought, oh, they got a cool stat line, some cool powers, but it's a 2-figure squad, whatever. I've really come around on them, as I feel a lot of us have. And the other thing too is for most of your game, you really are managing your army between your order markers between Maladrix and the Tanuki, and that's it. You do unfortunately have to sit 25 points, and that was something I was pretty apprehensive about. But we did end up, I think, Kyle, Brandon, and myself, we went with 4 squads of Tanukis, Maladrix, and the Honor Guard, and I'll give it to you guys as to why you ultimately went with those.
Yeah,
what is it?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go, Kyle. I had the floor earlier. You go for it.
Yeah, I mean, in the practice, it just felt really good. Leading Maladrix, getting good board control, getting as much damage as you can with Mal, and then having your kind of Tanuki cleanup. Yeah, it's only 2 figures, but with the Tanuki Aruki and kind of moving your backline up, it felt really strong. And then what was really cool is on some of the maps where there was lava, right, you could kind of post up and then move other units forward, and then you can kind of move them off of lava with your free movement. So it felt really good to like take an attack and then move them off like for round 3. So just kind of not only thinking about your army building, but since all of the maps were already posted, like what synergizes best. And so for that reason, I went with the Tanuki as support for Mal, and I don't regret that decision. I think that was the right call for how like my play style and kind of where I'm at right now as a player.
For sure.
Oh, Kyle.
Oh, go ahead.
Were you able to push any not Tanukis? Were you able to push any units into lava? Just out of curiosity. I don't think I've ever asked you this.
No, was not able to push anyone into lava. I was more thinking lava field for like the Tanuki synergy.
True.
To move them off.
But I did push a number of other Tanuki, just look down. Which we take that.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of pushing.
One thing that I like about that ability, and there's not a whole lot of chain grabbing. Well, no, that's not true. There's the Necrotech have their chain grab, and Sergeant Drake has his chain grab. But a lot of chain grab abilities that you can like move or force move an opponent. They force you to move an opponent to somewhere same level adjacent to your figure. Yeah. But the Tanuki, you can push them down and turn your attack into a height advantage attack, and that ended up being pretty strong on some of the games that I played. And I'm sure for the world champion it was strong.
Oh, kind of building off of that, another thing that kind of made the army really click with me I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was after we were playtesting. That was after our trip to Vegas, and we did the VC tournament, wasn't it? Oscar?
I don't think we had a. Who's Oscar? I don't think we had a VC tournament in Vegas. Did we?
I think we did. It's the one where you played Pirates and I played the Hoplotrons and everything.
Huh. I don't remember personally.
When he retired, he also retired his Heroscape memory. He just
The memory's gone.
Yep, he just cleared the banks there. Yeah.
Oh.
One
But,
thing go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say because like since we were playing that tournament, I played with the Hoplotrons a lot, and I played Hoplotrons in a couple other tournaments, and I just really, really like how they feel, and they are effectively a 2-man squad. And Hoplotron being a VC unit, it's not official, but it shares some DNA with the Tanukis a bit, and I don't know, it just made the army feel more natural, more fluid for me to pilot. So that's another reason that made me ultimately swing in favor of the Tanukis.
For sure. One point on the Tanukis, Kyle, you mentioned that you tended to favor opening with Maladrix and then leaving the Tanukis for cleanup, and I don't think that's wrong. Brandon, I remember asking you who did you open with, and you said Tanukis every time, and you said it with such conviction. And I'd be curious what led you to that. Why do you think that was always the play, or at least most of the time for you?
So
Range
okay,
opener's the best.
yeah, that was gonna say that's kind of my playtesting with the not the Knaves, the Exiles. I had a lot of I guess muscle memory with the Exiles, throwing the ranged units out first to hopefully take away their like easy positioning. So I ended up going with Tanukis most of the time first. I will say this though, the 2 games I lost, one early and one pivotal, I should have opened with Maladrix. But I didn't feel wrong most of the time. Like I would say 85 to 90% of the time, I felt like Tanukis going first never hurt. It always let me, or at least I felt, control the board a lot more in my favor since I had such a threat range, and they can't pin me down anyways. So
it was always going to be productive. It's hard for targets to escape the Tanukis when you're opening with them, and so yeah. But I feel the more matchups you run up against, sooner or later you're gonna have to change your opening strategy. But I will say myself personally, I think I mostly opened with Tanukis. There was a couple of times where there was a powerful hero coming up, I wanted to attempt the Parasite, I would open with Maladrix, but I generally did find I felt safest. And one of the reasons I ended up going with the Tanukis was because I felt safe with just managing my whole army, managing order markers between 2 cards. It kind of like what you said, Kyle, my skill level right now with the game, that's just, I feel like I should kind of compensate. I don't trust myself piloting that figure spam army where you're managing between like 20 cards. I just didn't trust myself to make the most prudent placements at the start of a round, and simplifying it. And even if I have to sit 25 points, it felt that would end up paying off. So I did think that was really curious that you guys had kind of 2 different approaches to the army. One before we kind of wrap this up, I do want to get Oscar in, because I remember Oscar saying you didn't want to run Maladrix and you didn't want to run the Bears. And I get it with the Bears. I resist them like the plague. I do not want to run them. It's just a personal thing. But what army did you end up going with, and what led you to it?
It was the Tanuksters and the Pirates. Good old Pirates. You already said it earlier, but the damage potential on them is just bonkers. Because I believe with Earth's Assault, it's 4, so 16 from the squad, and Bonnie's another 4, which is a ranged character, so that's an easy high ground attack. So it's really easy to just clean something up that's going the wrong way. You definitely don't open with them, because they're going to get popped by the opponent's like probable range opener. Then at that point they're kind of useless. But it was mostly the wanting to not be the 80% of people there running Queen.
Respect.
Because it's just boring. I'm different. It's just I know that Renegade didn't have many characters out at the moment during that tournament, so there's not much you can do about it. But it was gonna be very boring for me to just keep running with mirror matches every round or match, and I didn't want that. I was already getting burnt out on the game. I didn't want to also be bored while playing it.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I think you get extra bragging rights if you go far in World Championship with kind of less than expected meta units. I saw one guy on day 3, the finals, he had an Awashia in his army, and I feel like we moved away from Awashia pretty quickly, and I was like, damn, man, you made it this far with Awashia? Props. Like, wow. So yeah, the whole Knaves Fiabani, that's a whole other conversation. I think there's a lot to say about how that combo works, but that is for another time. What was your final build? It was Knaves, Fiabani, and then how many Tanukis? Was it 4?
I would believe it'd be 5.
Oh, 5.
Five
Wow.
squads, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which is not bad. Tanukis, I'm sure people agree, maybe that they're good in that format, but they're not like great because if you open with them, chances are you're gonna get 2 hits on the opponent before they get any hits on you. But 2 hits isn't much in a dice game. It's nothing like, let's say, the Krav, who get 3 hits from further away, or even the Exiles in the format we were playing with, where they get a strong 4, double what the Tanukis would. But it was still strong enough to, I think, put me in a position where I have some sort of wall so that the pirates can then safely go in. I think.
For sure.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I can probably play around with the builder and kind of come up with the army that you probably ran, and then I can run it by you, because in the video I do want to eventually display the armies that all 5 of us went with. But it feels like 4 out of 5 of us felt really good about the Tanukis, and I think it really came down to that one game we watched where we were spectating, where Brandon, he did Maladrix, Onagard, and 4 Tanukis, and you absolutely crushed. And we were like, whoa, all right. Okay, message received. We might have to run these guys. And so over time, I remember I was deciding my army pretty much right up until the day that I packed. And I think even while I was packing, I was like, maybe I could try the Eisenach, maybe. And then I'm like, nah, screw it. I just don't trust myself. I don't trust my skill with the game. And we ended up going Tanuki. So I am willing to let you guys say anything else, any other final closing thoughts about it. But I will say, just personally, I really enjoyed playing with you guys. I feel I got better at the game. I enjoyed throwing ideas against you guys, brainstorming, theory crafting, and practicing. And it was a real pleasant experience. So yeah, I open the floor, or I give the floor to anyone who wants to offer any final thoughts.
I don't know about final thoughts, but I did pull up. It's 6 squads of Tanukis.
6 squads, yeah.
With the names.
Well, so that's...
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice beefy wall.
It is, yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Oscar, but I had to buy 2 more at the convention so I could help you out.
Well, doesn't that approach the figure limit? So Knaves, Fiabani, that's 5, and then you did 5 squads.
Oh wait, you're right. No, you're right. So what did I do? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they would not have let you play it. Yeah,
I'd have killed him. No, I wanted it to Q11, but I was terrified of how he would blow up.
Yeah.
Hey, don't worry, guys. I can figure this out. Give me 5 seconds.
I'm really confused now, because I originally really wanted Q11, but like I said earlier, your Q11 gets blown up and the enemy just doesn't die, which actually happened in my last game. It's gonna piss me off, but the one where I had to win to guarantee into day 3, that guy had to Q11 and he would not die.
Yep.
My first assault Knaves and my Fiabani with high ground just could not kill this 4 HP robot, brutal. And it was just infuriating.
So cool.
Because if I had him, he would have been dead in round 2.
That's cruel. Yeah, Q11 was another figure that I also wrote off, again, incorrectly. I shouldn't have, but I just I wasn't all that impressed with his special attack, and but I paid for that dearly in my games. But yeah,
you underestimated him.
I sure did. Oh yeah.
Oscar, I got you. I found your army. So let me see. It's specifically 4 Tanukis, 1 Fia, 1 Knaves, 1 Dorum.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I did have a Doro.
Yes,
Right.
and I think we had talked about it because I remember I was thinking Dorum actually for that build if I was running the Knaves because there was a long time where I was really trying to make him work. And Dorum, once he gets charge, it makes it a lot easier for the Knaves to pull off their first assault, which is what you
Right.
need to do to make them work. And with 6 move, they suddenly become pretty threatening with that. So yeah, that is cool that you ended up running him.
Right. I forgot about him. I guess I didn't do too much with them, but yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was for the reason of giving that one extra move, which is vital to actually get an attack in versus just putting them on high ground and hoping that they don't get popped in the next turn.
For sure, for sure. All right, any other final thoughts from everyone?
Yeah, Roxanne
What are the-
MVP for always being down to practice and
Yeah,
setting
yeah.
things up. I think that was really cool, and a lot of good games were had. And then obviously, you know, Brandon making those shirts was really cool.
Oh yeah,
That
we
was
have
really
to
cool,
mention that.
you know.
Yeah, if I didn't mention it at the earlier in the video at this time, Brandon made us all matching Team SoCal jerseys, and that just made it all that more fun.
Yeah.
Oh, here. I'm gonna
Felt like
plug my
team.
brother now. So my brother
Plug away.
and his girlfriend, they have a Etsy shop called Out of Pocket, and through the very generous contribution from them, we actually had some pretty neat matching team shirts.
Hmm.
Check them out; they're great.
For sure.
I
Might
thought
be a
it was
little biased.
out of pocket craft.
It was
wasn't
out of pocket
Out of
craft,
Pocket
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure.
I am sorry, Israel. I have fucked up your guys' name. Oh god.
I'll blow it up on screen in big bold letters. Like, these are the guys. This is their name. Check them out. I'm happy to plug them because they did a great job. On that point about Roxanne, I feel like she was kind of like the drill sergeant. She was like, guys, you ready to play tonight? Like, you would just drop in the Discord. You're like, who's down for some practice? Who's down for some practice? And you were like, I am going to win. I want to win. And I it just, that energy did motivate us, I feel. And I also remember too, we were very strict, and oftentimes it was Roxanne keeping the time. But when we started an online game, it'd be like, okay, setting the timer 50 minutes or whatever, because that was the length of time for a Gen Con game. And so we really took simulating the experience very seriously, and I think that did make us better. So thank you for all you did, Rox.
Wahoo! It was really fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, SoCal manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, I think we kind of nailed it all. I appreciate all your guys' time, and I look forward to putting this video together to memorialize our wonderful experience.
All right, and after that discussion with all of the wonderful people of Team SoCal, I realize I actually cut the recording off a little bit before they all said goodbye, so I apologize for that, guys. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but they all said goodbye, and yeah, they're a wonderful group of people, and they're very active in online Heroscape too, more active than I am, certainly. So some of you watching this may have even played against some of them, but after that discussion and after that theory crafting session that we all did, the practicing that we did, most of us we all recognized how good the Tanukis were, and we tried to find a way to fit them into most of our builds. For me personally, the army that I went with was indeed Festering Honor Guard, Maladrix, and then 4 squads of Tanukis, and this was 400 points. So the pros, well, we talked about it in the recording, but this is a very order marker efficient army. You only need to manage your order markers between 2 different cards, and that felt great. It took a lot of guesswork out of it, and I could focus more on micro decisions of where to place figures rather than spending precious brain power at the start of each round on which order markers to arrange on which card. I could focus more on just the 2 cards that I was working with. So that was probably the most appealing aspect of this army, I have to say. But also, too, the fact with Maladrix, she is a competitive mainstay, or she was a competitive mainstay in that meta for sure. The fact that Infestation 9 has that slim chance to destroy a hero if you can pull it off, or I should say the parasite. So what happens is you infest with her Infestation 9, and then you get the parasite on the Festering Honor Guard. So if you're able to pull that off, it's a 17 or higher for the roll, but if you can do it, it can really swing a game around in your favor, or against you if it happens on your end. So a very decisive figure with some of her powers. It's a very mobile army. Every single figure in the army has base 6 move, and then the Tanukis on top of that have phantom walk, so they can really go where they please. They're not held back by any. They can't be pinned down, and that felt very effective in this kind of more limited unit pool, so I like that too. The Tanukis can auto-develop a third Tanuki on each OM with their Aruki ability, and as a 2-figure squad, that felt really important. So you would normally develop 2 figures in your standard turn, and then you can bring up a third, or move a third as kind of an additional reinforcement after that. And it felt like, hey, if you lost, if on the opponent's next turn, if they kill one of your Tanukis, that's okay. You've developed a third one in the back that you can move up to reinforce, and then you can still get hopefully 2 attacks off on your subsequent turns. So specifically the idea of maintaining momentum and constantly bringing in reinforcements without having to spend extra order markers on the Tanukis, that we did like about their Aruki ability. And then the other thing was the Nagewaza, or however you pronounce that, the push ability that they have. This isn't like chain grab, or this isn't like other forced movement abilities where you have to bring a figure onto same level with you. What's really impressive is you can move a figure off of same level and gain height advantage onto. You can move them onto lower levels, so that can bring the Tanuki's average attack of 3 up to 4, and that's pretty impactful. So lots of cool tools that the Tanukis have. But the cons of the army, as we discussed, if you're going with this, you do have to sit 25 points, and it feels like a lot. That feels like a lot, and it is a lot. There are not a whole lot of filler units in Renegade Heroscape right now that could have filled that. But even if we had filler units in Renegade Heroscape, we're already maxed out at 14 figures. So there's really no way around it. Going with this build, you have to sit a full 25 points, and you just kind of suck it up and just say, yeah, do I want to risk that? And then the other thing too, it's lacking in a strong base attack. So the highest base attack in this army is 4 with Queen Maledrix. Now she has double attack, certainly, and she gets height. That's 2 attacks of 5. So she is a powerhouse, certainly, but still, yeah, I mean, you don't have Q11 with his 6 attack melee. But again, did you really need it in this format? That was another consideration. And so, yeah, there's certainly some cons with this army, but I think I said in that recording that I did with the team that I was deciding while I was packing between a couple different armies, and I just ended up going with this because I was so impressed with the Tanukis. The number of practice, we didn't talk so much about it, but there were so many practice games I played where you're spamming the board with these little critters, and each of them has 4 defense, and it was really surprising how resilient they were as 1 life figures with 4 defense. Just in that volume of figures on the board, 4 defense was great, especially in that unit pool. And so they had a really impressive stat line, an impressive toolkit with their powers, and I felt safe with them. And I also just like the order marker efficiency. All of that, eventually I said, maybe it's not original, maybe it's not the army I was thinking I was running, but I'm impressed with these guys, and I feel safest. My skill level with the game, I just think I need to limit the amount of thought I'm putting into my order markers, and that's why I ended up going with this. So we had a phrase, I think we called it "trust in Tanuki." We just said "trust in Tanuki," just believe, and I don't think that was wrong. So anyway, that was the army that I went with, and I'll go ahead and put on screen. These are the armies that all 5 of us ended up going with. And what's interesting is you'll see that Brandon, myself, and Kyle, we all went with the exact same army. We were feeling the Tanuki. We just felt that we were really impressed with how they had played in our practice, and we liked them as support for Maledrix, and we just felt it was a safe pick. And if you're going to play it safe, if there's any event to play it safe in, it's the World Championship. If there's any event to, this is not an event to experiment in unless you're very brave, but we wanted to play it safe. And so 3 of us ended up going with this army. And then Roxanne, she did the figure spam army, which is Exiles, Festering Honor Guard, Oathbound Legionnaires, Oathbound Phalanx, that Bug Ball, and then Queen Maledrix. And so certainly a good army, or at least a theoretically good army. We did think it was strong and it had tools. Of course, you do have to sit one figure because all those figures is 15, one above the figure limit. So you do have to pick which figure you're going to remove. Usually it's either an exile or a festering honor guard. But yeah, it was an army that presents a lot of challenges because it is order marker intensive. There's a lot of management there. And so Roxanne was giving herself that challenge. But if she knew how to manage it, if she could manage it well, we all had faith that that army was going to perform pretty well in that format. And then Oscar, he was the bravest, I think, out of all of us. He decided he wasn't going to run Maladrix. He wasn't going to run the Bears. He was going to do 4 squads of Tanukis, the Knaves, Fiabani. That's a combo I really do like. I thought it was too squishy for the World Championship, but he went with it. He braved it, and he also brought Dorum along with it. And Dorum's a pretty solid figure too. But it was kind of like, oh boy, you're running that. No Maladrix? Okay, well, respect, man, respect. So yeah, those are the those are the 5 different, I guess 3 different lists that we brought to the World Championship, and it was really exciting to see how it was really exciting at the end of each game. How'd you do? Spoiler: none of us ended up facing each other amid all those players, which it was kind of nice. You know, it wasn't like we weren't actually like competing against each other. It really felt like we were a team. So, but at the end of each round, we would come together and say like, hey, you know, how'd it go? How'd you do? Great time, great camaraderie. So one thing I will say is in going to this event, I had to be realistic about my skill level and then in anticipation of the skill level I was likely to play against. And I knew that some of the best players in the world were going to this event, and that's not me. I've won a couple local tournaments, but I think I've got so much I need to learn about the game. I've got so much I need to master. There's so many gaps in my knowledge. There are many gaps in my knowledge, and there's many areas of nuances of gameplay, little blind spots I have in my strat. I don't know where I would rank myself in the world of Heroscape. I really don't, but I don't think it's anywhere near the top. I just don't. And I knew that the top would be going to this event. So I wanted to be realistic and set for myself a realistic goal. My goal was I wanted to get to day 3. If I can just get to day 3, I will be a happy man. You know, it'd be amazing if I won world champion, but I don't need to do that. I just want to make it to day 3. If I do and I get those fancy order markers, I'll feel like I performed well. So that was my goal going into it, and we'll talk about whether or not I actually did achieve that goal. So day 1, took a red-eye flight. I flew from San Diego to Baltimore and then to Indianapolis. That was the cheapest flight, and yeah, it was a. I am glad I was not competing on day 1. I'll say that, and that'll. We'll come to that later on, but I was able to just get my bearings, land, register, and then kind of wander around GenCon a little bit, see the sites, check out the vendor hall and stuff. And it was a low pressure day, so I was grateful for the day 2 buy, and I had a day to kind of recover from the flight and, as I said, get my bearings. One thing I should say too, this is some personal background context about GenCon. So before I started this channel, before I got into competitive Heroscape, before I was even playing in a local scene, before I knew that there even was a local scene in my area, I grew up with Heroscape as a kid, and I grew up reading and lurking on the Heroscapers forums. I was never a member of the forums, but I would always lurk. I knew the big names and all that, and I was like a kid, you know, like Charlie Bucket from Willy Wonka. He didn't have enough money to buy candy in the store, but he would just look and peer in and say, oh, that must be fun. I heard all these stories about how exciting GenCon was, and I thought, oh, must be nice. Well, I wish there was a Heroscape group in my area. I always thought it was more of a Midwest thing, and I know there is a very big scene in the Midwest, but I just didn't realize there was anything on the West Coast, and that's what I get for not participating in the forums, because there definitely was a West Coast scene, and I was only in the last couple of years that I really got acquainted with it. But the point is that GenCon was always kind of a dream of mine. Going to the World Championship of Heroscape at some point in my life was always something of a dream, and it turned out to be this year that I ended up going. And so it was seeing that big banner, that picture I took. I mean, there was a little bit of like, you know, I was excited. It was exciting. You know, it was kind of this thing I'd always heard about, always heard good things about, and now I was finally going, and not just going, but participating in the World Championship. So it was surreal. It was very surreal. And as you can see here, there's some pictures of some of the promo, not the promo, but the upcoming releases for Heroscape. This is now old news, but at the time those were kind of brand new to the public. And then obviously the big one was Duned and Carr. So Duned is coming back. You know, it was not on my bingo card for 2025 to see Duned returning to Heroscape. So that was really exciting for me. And then obviously Cobra Commander. Anyway, so day one I was absolutely wiped out and tired and exhausted, and I think I had about 1 hour of sleep on the flight, so I was very glad I was not competing today or on day one. So but what I did do on day one was there was that fun little Vengeance for Valhalla scenario, and this is something that Renegade was putting on. As you can see, it's a mixture of the original Swarm of the Morrow 5, so Sonlin, Shiori, Raylan, Q11, and then Drake, and they were fighting off a legion of Utgar's forces defending a fortress wall in a lava field. So a fun little scenario. There's a story thing behind it where Raylan has to go in and defeat Taylord and infiltrate the fortress. It was a cool scenario, and just for participating in it, you get a little Raylan promo figure. So I played in that, but I was really wiped out, and I was just in this weary haze. I just was not thinking straight. And I remember I put one of the tricks with the scenario is if you move, Raylan is the key figure. So if the enemy team controlling the Utgar forces, if they kill your Raylan, then it's over. So Raylan on her Manticore, if she dies, she's replaced with the Boiling Tension Raylan. But if the Boiling Tension Raylan dies, then it's over. So I don't know. It was just my lack of sleep. I moved Raylan up early, and we were playing a team game, and one of my early moves was to move Raylan and put her there right in the center of the board, and she died really quickly. And they're like, yeah, the enemy team killed Raylan. And I was like, oh, they did? And they said, yeah, and that means they won. I was like, oh, okay, sure. Because I was so tired. So it really is important. It's amazing how much sleep, a good night's sleep, can affect your ability to think. It's incredible. So anyway, but it's a fun little scenario, and I think they've released it publicly. If there's probably a way to download the scenario if you want to try it out yourself. So that was day one, and then I checked into my hotel, did get a proper night's sleep. I told myself I have to get a good 8 hours sleep, and then I have to get a good solid breakfast to prepare for day two. But you know who was competing on day one was Oscar from our team. He and Roxanne, they landed on day one, and he went pretty much straight into playing, which is whoo boy, to think that he got off that flight and started competing right away. Crazy. He was competing for his spot in day two, and we will get to whether or not he made it. So we will why is it scrolling? There we go. Okay, so after a good night's sleep and after a good breakfast, the games began. And so I came back on day two, went to the game hall and registered, and I got my first assignment for my official first game of the World Championship. Really exciting. And the good news was Oscar made it. Even off of minimal hours of sleep, he still made it. So all of Team SoCal qualified for day two, so that felt really, really great. So the first game that I played on was on the map Embroiled by Ulysses. We'll look at the army that I faced. Now, this is my first time meeting all of these people that I played against, and so I'm going off of their names on the Battle Network as they appear on the Battle Network. So this was Mark R, and he was running Festering Honor Guard, Major Q11, Queen Mal, and the one squad of Revenant Acolytes. And this was a extremely competitive army for this format, and it was an army that included two units that I really did not practice much against and did not have much of a plan to fight, and that would come back to really bite me throughout this day. this was one, if you recall, this is one of the armies that Dutch was talking about in the theory crafting section, where we were all talking about some of the. This is one of the earliest armies he was thinking about, and this is an army that Oscar thought was really strong too. One of the ways that it's strong is the acolytes obviously will help Queen Maledrix with rerolls. Q11, he's got his special attack that can kill multiple acolytes. His hammer can smash multiple acolytes in a single attack, and so he can get the reviving of the acolytes going really early. He's got great stats himself. So yeah, this is a really frightening army that I did not have much of a plan for, but I said, you know what, let's go into it. Let's do our best. So yeah, this was on Embroiled, and you can see here, I'll go ahead and get the laser pointer. So this was my army here with my 4 squads of Tanukis, and then here were Mark's figures right here. So Mark, you can see he put his acolytes behind Q11, and what I remember is I think Mark won initiative, and this is one way for me to stay briefer on these videos, is to do them so far after the actual date of the event that I remember so little of each game that the only things that come to mind are the really standout moments of the game. So for that, we can keep things moving along briskly. But one thing I remember is Mark initially tried to Vidar hammer 2 of his acolytes at the start, and he failed. And so that was improbable, and, you know, I'm sure it was frustrating for him. For me, I was like, oh my goodness, okay, all right, I feel better about that. I don't remember a whole lot of how this went down, other than I think I opened with my Tanukis. That was generally my strategy. If I didn't know how to approach an army, my default would be open with Tanukis. So I opened with Tanukis. I think I shot a couple of Festering Honor Guard, but that meant that his Mal was going to have a chance to infest mine. And then eventually, it's inevitable. His Mal and my Mal engaged. I think they were kind of running around the central post here, and he did infest my Maledrix, and I think it may have taken him a couple times to get the infestation, but he did eventually get it. And several rounds they were rolling for the parasite, and it wasn't happening, and so I felt really good about it. And I remember I struggled. I don't know if I fully got an infestation on him, but I think my Maledrix killed his Maledrix just in melee combat. Now at this stage, Q11 had not moved. I think Q11 had killed a couple of acolytes, and so a couple acolytes had respawned here to help with his Maledrix, but Q11 had stayed put right there. And so my Maledrix actually, surprisingly, this may have been because my Tanukis were spreading out and doing their ranged attacks and taking out, doing progressive damage on his Maledrix. I don't know exactly how it happened, but my Maledrix, I think my Maledrix had one wound on her, so she had 5 lives. She was very healthy and fresh, and so she, I think, had only a couple of Festering Honor Guard, and I think most of my Tanukis had fallen by then. But Mal was pretty healthy, and she had to go up against the full life Q11. But I thought my odds were okay. You know, Q11, he's got 1 strong attack of 6, which is scary, no question. But I've got 2 attacks of 4. I thought, you know, these aren't the worst odds. Let's take a stab at it. So I started moving my Maledrix in, engaged Q11, or at least got very close. And then Mark got the pop. He got the pop. The parasite destroyed my Maledrix, and at that point, it was over. There was no way to salvage it. The game had been going okay. It was a great game. It was even. I don't think the dice were super swingy either direction until Mark got that infestation, and that's what Maledrix does. And he gets the credit for positioning his Maledrix and maneuvering her in such a way that she got the infestation on mine, so that he could capitalize on a lucky roll like that. So. My first game of the day, my first game at World Championship, I was starting to feel, oh boy, not a great start to the day. I don't feel great about that. And if Patrick, who is one of the people who I play with at our card addiction events, a single nacho, he's someone I've played with who knows how often I've gotten Maledrix parasites. I think I've gotten a couple on him, and he's seen me get a couple on others. It may please you to know, Patrick, that I lost my first game at the Heroscape World Championship because someone got a parasite on me. So I think I would call that karma, right? So Yeah, so that's just how it goes. That's life, isn't it? But yeah, well done, Mark. It was a pleasure playing you, and that was my first game of the day, first loss of the day. Now we'll go on to game 2. This was on the map Ritual by Vidar XL3, and we will go over the army that I faced. This was against Nobleman Nick, and so he had actually the army that Roxanne was originally thinking of bringing when she was first practicing for GenCon. This is Exiles of the Sundered Sea, Festering Honor Guard, Frostclaw Paladins without a bonding champion, and Queen Maladrix for 14 figures, 415 points. Just all-around solid units, a proposition for sure. So we faced off on this map here, and again, I don't remember a great deal. It's been months since I was at Gen Con. A couple things I remember is Nick was very good at moving his bears to secure this wound glyph, and I remember most of the fighting started gravitating toward here once he took over that wound glyph. I don't remember a great deal of what his exiles did, but I think my Tanuki got a couple of lucky shots bypassing their stealthy ability and took them out early, so that was fortunate for me. And I think some of his bears got some unfortunate losses when my Maladrix came in. And in summary, I don't remember all the details, but I did end up taking this. But there was a lot of fighting that happened around this glyph. This was pretty pivotal. And I forget the glyph here, but I remember that coming into play as well. So yeah, Nobleman, it was great playing you. You were a pleasure to play with. And yeah, I appreciate the game. So with that win, my confidence started building back up. So I was now 1-1 for the day, and I was starting to feel a little bit better. I was like, okay, I can win a game at the World Championship. Okay, maybe I've still got a shot. So something I should say about my goal to reach day 3. Due to the number of players, so all players who had a score of 4-2 and above, so all 6-0, 5-1, and 4-2 players were going to make it automatically into day 3. If that was your score at the end of day 2 for Swiss, you were automatically in for day 3. But for anyone who was 3-3 and under, you were out. That was you were not going to make it. But there were 4 slots. So the top 32 players were going to make it. The top 28 were going to automatically get in, and then the remaining 4 slots would be pulled from the top 4 players that had the 3-3, 3 wins, 3 losses. So there was a very slim chance that someone who had 3-3 that day could get in on day 3, just purely on matchup strength. But again, you really wanted to go for that 4 wins, 2 losses. So I thought, okay, well, I've already exhausted one of my losses that day. I need 3 more wins to secure my spot. So, but maybe my luck was about to turn. So we'll see. So that was game 2, and then we'll go to game 3. This is Cultivation by Flash 19. That was the name of the map. And this game I played against. Username here is NVR_44. And I think this is Alvarado. I'll refer to him as Alvarado. But he brought one of the most unique army I played that day, by far. This was the new Shiori, and then 5 squads of Tanuki Tricksters, along with the Necrotech Wraith Riders just by themselves. So this was exactly 425 points and exactly 14 figures, so fully maxed out on what he was allowed to bring in terms of figure limit and point limit. So I will say this. I looked at this army when I first saw it, and I thought, no one plays with the new Shiori. No one plays with her. This is before the Tanukis. Again, this is my own hubris. I was looking at it, and I thought, no one plays with Shiori. Is this... could I beat this? This is... Or is there something I'm not seeing? And indeed, what I didn't realize, I learned pretty quickly, is that the Tanukis can Aruki Shiori. They can move her with their Tanuki Aruki ability because she is a ninja. And so once I realized that, I said, oh, wow, okay, this is a stronger army than I initially gave it credit for. And then also the Necrotechs by themselves, not bad. So I had 4 squads of Tanukis against his 5, so he had the numbers on me. He had his Tanuki. I had to cut through way more Tanuki than he had to cut through on my end. So let's go into the game as it happened. So let me begin by saying this. This game was, hands down, one of the best games of Heroscape I've ever played in my entire life. I say that without any hyperbole. This game was, I was sweating bullets. This was an insane game. NVR Alvarado, I really appreciate this game, and I'll try to cover it and give it as much justice as I can. You can see here he's got his Tanukis painted purple, which goes great with Shiori right there. So again, it was one of the greatest games I've ever played. I don't remember the play-by-play. What had happened is he obviously, I think we both started with our Tanukis. We started just picking each other apart. He was slowly Arukiing Shiori forward, and I think at one point Shiori went and grabbed the initiative glyph. At some point, I stopped developing with the Tanukis and I started moving up Maladrix. And there was a lot of fighting going on over here. There's a lot of fighting going on over here. Sometimes we would take these perches here. I mean, it was all over the place. It was really, really intense. And it just didn't look like either one person had an advantage. The game was just really even. We were both killing each other's points at a steady rate. There was, and Shiori too, with her dodge ability, she was bypassing so many attacks that I was dropping on her, and it was really tough to take her out. Now, I was really worried about the Necrotechs in the end game, probably incorrectly worried about them in the end game, but at a certain point, I had thinned out enough of his Tanukis that I felt safe moving in Maladrix, and I think this was a misplay. But I wanted to send Maladrix out to hopefully double engage to at least 2 of the Necrotechs, and then do her double attack and maybe try to take out 2 to every time he would spend an order marker on the Necrotechs, he could only have he wouldn't have full activations. That was my hope. I wanted to produce that outcome in the end game. But what that meant was he had not moved his Necrotechs. He had left them in his start zone. I had to move my Maladrix in to pull that off. But I think he had a couple of Tanukis that were still on height here, and once my Maladrix was there, well, he started throwing their shurikens or whatever, doing their ranged attack from height down on Maladrix, and that was really punishing. And actually, Maladrix dropped pretty quickly, and that didn't feel great. And so it was getting to a point where once I lost Maladrix, I had a couple of Festering Honor Guard left. I think I did kill his Shiori successfully, but this is where the game got really, really frightening for me. He was ahead of me on points, and we were actually running out of time. So each of these games is 50 minutes long, and so there were judges kind of patrolling the tables, and they would always shout out, 10 minutes left. Ken Matthias Maccabeus was the judge, and so you could hear his loud booming voice if you're familiar with Caches of Valhalla. So unmistakable. So anytime he would call out, you're like, oh no, we got to wrap this up. So I was behind on points. He had more Tanukis on the board, and I had only a couple Tanukis. And then the judges started coming over, and they said, last round. They pointed to our table, and they said, this is your last round, wrap it up. And I was like, oh my God, no. Like, I'm losing. I played as hard as I could, and I tried to take out as much as I could in that last round. Now, I had lost initiative, so I was going to have the last turn of the round. And when it finally got to me, I really had lost a great deal of my army. I think I was down to 3 Tanuki in that final turn. And my opponent, I believe, had 4 Tanuki and 1 injured Necrotech. Damn it, close game, right? But he was ahead of me on points. And so the judges came by and they pointed at the table and they said, this is it. This is your last turn. After this, game's over. And so I thought, oh my God, no, I've lost. I can't recover. And I just can't recover. He's already ahead of me on points. But then I thought, no, wait a minute. You have the last turn. See if you can do something with this last turn. And so I thought my best hope is to try to get height with my Tanukis, with my 2 attacks from my Tanukis. See if I can see what I can kill with that. And then I realized here was the moment I realized I could actually pull something off. Quite unintentionally, I had a Tanuki, I think right there. He was originally trying to go for the wound glyph, but he just couldn't quite make it, and I just decided not to develop him. But then I realized, wait a minute. if I normal attack with 2 Tanuki that were, I think, right here, they were right about here. If I do my normal turn with those 2 Tanuki, I could then Aruki my 3rd one onto the wound glyph and maybe get a little extra points. That was the play. I decided we have to go for it. We have to hope. It's a Hail Mary. Let's see what happens. So I sent my Tanukis. Incredibly, I think they in both of their attacks, they killed 2 of Alvarado's Tanukis. And so he had 2 Tanukis left plus a Necrotech. I forget exactly what it was. I mean, it was really close. And I think I did Aruki onto this wound glyph, and then I got the roll, forced him to take a wound. I think he destroyed a Tanuki. He left the Necrotech alive. And then at that point, the judges were like, time. And so they did a quick calculation of the points, and I thought, oh my god. I was not crunching the numbers in my head. I was praying. I was clasping my hands and looking up to the sky and hoping that this would come through. I just saw them like punching in their phone, doing some quick calculations, and then I saw one of the judges point to me, and he said, "He takes it." And I thought, "Are you kidding? Are you kidding?" I'm not trying to gloat. I was physically shaking. It was one of the best games of Heroscape I've ever played in my entire life. It might be the best game of Heroscape I've ever played in my entire life, and I wish I had more of the play-by-play, but it was really intense against a really good opponent, and every move, every kill, there was never a moment where it swung in either direction. We both were even on the points. It was just really great, and he exploited my weaknesses when I gave them to him. And anyway, it was a great game. And NVR Alvarado, if you're watching this, I really appreciate it. You were a pleasure to play with, and it was a great game. So that was one of the highlights of that day for sure. And at this point, I was 2-1 in my score. And so now we go to day 2, game 4. And this is on the map Embroiled by Ulysses. And this time I was facing Dr. Cornelius 9000, a great name. And so he once again, this was another army, another instance of this same Q11 army that I was facing. So Festering Honor Guard, Q11, Queen Maledrix, and then the Revenant Acolytes. So a very, very good army, top tier for this meta, and honestly an army I was like, I don't have to fight this again, because I knew I had lost that previous game, and I was just like, how am I going to face this? I just didn't have any practice against it. So but I had to figure it out. I had to find a way to overcome and adapt. So anyway, we faced off on this map here, and this was where I actually in the way that Dr. Cornelius played his army, I began to see in action. I should have practiced. I should have practiced this, and I should have learned before I went to Indianapolis. But I saw live in front of me how you play with the Revenant Acolytes. He would smash the Acolytes with Q11, and then he would start moving in Maledrix. And then as Maledrix moved up, each round a dead Acolyte would revive near her. And he played very, very well. He moved Maledrix, grabbed height, and then an Acolyte would spawn kind of in a place where I couldn't attack it. He protected his Acolytes really well, and it forced some interesting decisions. Do I go for the Acolyte or do I go for Maledrix? And he put me in a really tough place, and I did not play a great game here, I have to say. And somehow he was able to get his Q11 onto height. Now I brought in my Maledrix, and my Tanukis were doing work. They were doing good work. And I put a lot of wounds on Maledrix. But this is a moment I remember distinctly from this game. I had a chance. I had a roll where his Maledrix was one life, and I had to kill her in that moment. I dropped a really strong attack, but she's got high defense. So he rolled, and he was one shield below my attack, but he had an Acolyte next to Queen Maledrix. So he got the reroll. He rerolled it, and he got his shield. He protected her. And then after that, I mean, it's that duel, when two people both have Maledrix, it just seems inevitable that they both go together like glue and they slug it out and see who has the most stamina. And after with that Acolyte, his Maledrix just tanked my last shot, and then after that, he did his retaliation, and he took out my Maledrix, and at that point, there was little my Tanuki could do to finish off this army, and so, unfortunately, fortunately for Docta, but unfortunately for me, I lost this one, so I was now 2-2 for the day, and there's a total of 6 games, day 2, I should say, so, at this stage, I realized, okay, I have exhausted both of my losses. I need to win my next 2 games to guarantee my spot in in day 3. And so my goal of getting to day 3 was becoming. It wasn't gone. It hadn't been completely taken away from me, but it was growing slimmer with each game that passed. So I really needed to win my next 2 games to advance to day 3. So Dr. Cornelius, thank you for the great game, and you taught me a lot about how the Acolytes play. So it was a pleasure playing you. So next one was Adalbern's Abode by Superfrog. This is a snow map using some of the new snow terrain. This is the 5th game of the day, and this time I faced Bodacious Blood, and once again I had to face the Maledrix, Acolytes, and Q11 army. And so I was not feeling good about my odds here. I thought every game I've played against this army, I've lost. In my head, I sort of thought, maybe the Maledrix Tanuki's build is just not able to beat this army. Maybe it's just not able to beat it. And I wasn't feeling great about my chances. But I said, I have to win this. I have to win it if I hope to get to day 3. So anyway, I faced Bodacious on this map here, and you can see his beautiful paint job on his Honor Guard and Maledrix here. Now, I'll say on this game too, I did not play very well. I did not plan my movement of my Maledrix very well. He did. He seemed to have just a real mastery of the map. I remember most of our fighting happened right around here. I had my Tanuki spread out. They were shooting occasionally, but as always, it gets to that point where it's Maledrix versus Maledrix, and his Maledrix was buffed by the Revenant Acolytes, which so I think what happened, and this is important, his Q11 at some point in the early game moved up and did, I think, a Vidar Hammer and smashed 2 Acolytes and maybe killed 1 or 2. But the key thing here is Q11 moved either here or here, but he definitely moved up. He moved forward. He was not staying back there that whole time. So he had moved up, and then that allowed the Acolytes to revive next to Maledrix, and my Maledrix versus his Maledrix with Revenant Acolyte support. I mean, it's just math. My Maledrix went down first, and so I was feeling pretty bad. But I did put some wounds on his Maledrix, and so I still had some Tanuki left. But I was not feeling good about my odds. He had a full life Q11. He had some Acolytes left. He had some Honor Guard left, and Maledrix. His Maledrix was still alive, and I just had some Tanuki and remaining Honor Guard. So at that point, I started really feeling demoralized. I started really feeling like I think I'm out of it. I think I've lost. I think I can't make it to day 3. But I said, never give up. Never give up. Do what you can with what little you have and see if you can turn things around. And so what I did is he had his Q11 right here. This is that important thing I mentioned. He had his Q11 right there, and I had some Tanukis up on height. I said, you know what? We're going for a Hail Mary. I moved a Tanuki right about there or so, right here or here, and I said, we got to go for a shot. We're going to do a height attack shot on Q11, and wouldn't you know it? So you have two. You have 2 attacks per turn with the Tanukis. So I had another Tanuki try to aim for Maledrix, and this is crazy. So one of the Tanukis moved in and targeted Q11. So with height, that's 4 dice. This Tanuki rolled all 4 skulls. So I thought, wow, okay, I'm probably going to put some wounds on Q11. But then Bodacious rolled, and he blanked. I don't know. It shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't have gotten that lucky. But I did. I don't know what that Tanuki did. He must have angled his shuriken or whatever he threw right at the self-destruct button somewhere on Q11. But Q11 dropped right there with a single Tanuki attack. And then the second Tanuki I had fired his shot at Maledrix. And I don't know if that Tanuki killed Maledrix, but he put a wound on her, and then pretty soon after, Maladrix did die, if not that turn, then the next. And so it was down to just like one Honor Guard and a couple of Revenant Acolytes, and I had maybe 4 Tanukis left. And so I think we fought it out for a couple more turns, but then Bodacious looked at me and he said, I'll call it. And I said, well, GG. It's a dice game. He was the better player. He made the better plays. Sometimes you take the wins when they come your way. I was grateful for the win, and I was stunned that my luck to reverse that suddenly. But once that game was over, I said, okay, well, now I'm 3-2 win-loss, and so I still have a shot at getting into day 3. If I win my next game, I'm guaranteed into day 3. So I was like, okay, well, we'll take it. We take it, So anyway, Bodacious, thank you for the incredible game, and I hope I can play you again sometime in the future, and hopefully have a less swingy game with that. So finally, we went to game 6 of day 2, and this is also on Embroiled by Ulysses. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, I did not. I must have just been tired or exhausted because this is my 6th game that day. I did not take a picture of the actual board, but I do know that we played on this map, or at least I think we do. I'm like 95% sure this is the map that we played on. But anyway, I think we played on Embroiled, and I faced Brian B. And would you believe it? I faced the same frickin' army again, the Q11 Acolytes, Queen, and Honor Guard. But there's a reason this army kept showing up, is because it is good. And I had only beaten this once on sheer dumb luck. I had beaten this army once. So I was not feeling good about my odds again. And I thought, oh no, come on. Couldn't I have gotten something else for this is the most important game of the day. I can't lose this. Why did I have to get this army again? Anyway, you roll with it, and you just accept. So anyway, Again, I don't have the picture of how this battle went, and I remember so few details of this event because Brian stomped me. I mean, he's a good sport. It was a pleasure to play with, but he really had mastery of this army. He knew the map, and he just outplayed me. He outplaced me, and it just crushed me. So it was rough. And once that happened, I was officially 3-3 for day 2, and at that point I said, well, I'm not getting into day 3. I'm not getting it. I was like, dang it. And then in my mind I was like, what are the odds that I have to face this army 3 times that day? 3 times? No, wait, hang on. I faced it. 4 times. I faced the army 4 times that day, and I beat it only once. All 3 of my losses that day were to this army. To very good players, certainly, but I just felt, what are the chances that you face this army 4 times in one day? So it's a good army. There's no question. So anyway, after that, Brian, again, thank you for the game. If you're watching this, I'm not sure you are, but if you are, it was a pleasure playing you. And hopefully we can get a rematch at some point. So anyway, qualifying for day 3. So I talked a little about this earlier, but the top 32 players in Swiss from day 2 would qualify for day 3. And so that would mean, obviously, all 4-2 players would qualify. That's positions 1 through 28. And then the 4 strongest 3-3 players would also qualify, positions 29 to 32. So Dylan Fernandez, who's one of the Renegade designers, and someone I play with in our local scene a lot, he and I would kind of link up at the end of each game, and I tell him, like, here's where I am, and so I would ask him, like, hey, how likely is it that I'm gonna make it? I heard that, like, some people with 3-3 might make it, and he's like, it's only gonna be 4. There's like 4 out of like 20 people who are gonna have that score. He's like, doesn't look good, dude, doesn't look good. And so I said, oh no, that was my goal. I just wanted to make it to day 3. But then, as the game started finishing for, so my game, Brian really crushed me, and so the game ended really fast, and so I had some free time as game 6 was ending for everyone else, and so I met with Dylan, and he said, "Hey, man, come over here for a sec," and he started showing me some of the rankings of the other players, and he was saying, "So, I don't want to promise anything, but if things work out for you, you actually have a really strong matchup strength because all of the people that you lost against were really strong players, and they're bumping your score up. And I thought, no, he's like, so there is still a chance you could make it. And then I mean, can you imagine just the whiplash of emotions that was happening? Anyway, so eventually it was discovered that I was, at the end of day 2 of Swiss, I was position 29. And that means that I actually advanced to day 3. I was one of the lucky 3-3 players who made it to day 3 based on matchup strength. So I couldn't believe my luck. I felt fantastic about it, and it was great. So from Team SoCal, actually, there was I believe let's see, I think Oscar and Dutch also were 3-3, but their matchup strength was just a little weaker, and they didn't quite make it. And I think Roxanne didn't quite make 3-3. But Brandon, I think Brandon did 5-1. He had a great score that day, and so he definitely advanced to day 3. So of Team SoCal, it was me and Brandon who made it to day 3. I asked Brandon, how many times did you face that freaking Q11 army? He's like, I don't think I faced it once. And I was like, what the heck, man? What the heck? I had to face it 4 times. Anyway, it's the luck of the luck of the draw, as they say. So, I just thought that was hysterical that I got that army 4 times. But anyway, I took it. I was happy for the advancement. And so that was day 3. And it was Brandon and I representing SoCal in the final day of the World Championship. So day 3, game 7. And I have to say, at this stage, I was there was a sense of like, I achieved my goal. I'm just going to go into day 3 grateful, and I'm going to play my best and see how far I can get. Kind of expecting I wasn't going to get far in day 3, but I said, let's give it a shot. So first game, technically the 7th game I played of the World Championship. This was on Ceremony by Schurig, and I played against Bowtie Jones, another wonderful player, and it was a pleasure to play against him. So he had a creative army, a little tweak on the army that we're running. So instead of 4 squads of Tanukis, he only brought 2, but instead looped in the latest version of Raylin, who's got the Vengeful Swoop ability. And so this was 4 15 points, 11 figures, and I have to say, kind of similar to the Shiori army I faced a while back. I thought, I didn't see a lot of people using Raylin. I'm not sure how good she is. Maybe I've got a shot at beating this, but again, that's hubris. That's assuming that just because you don't know a figure, it's bad, or just because you haven't seen people play a figure, somehow it must be bad or sub-meta. So, anyway, but I faced Bowtie Jones on the map, and what I remember is I remember the opening game being I felt pretty good about my moves in the opening game. I felt like I was making the right calls. I opened with my Tanuki as I typically did. I had them grab height, and they were taking a couple attacks at his Tanuki. But then at a certain point, I started seeing how Boiling Tension Raylin, how her mechanics work. So as soon as I attacked one of his figures, his Raylin would swoop in and do a vengeance strike against one of my figures. And pretty quickly I realized she's a threat. I need to eliminate her first before I deal with anything else. And so threw a couple of attacks at her, and she took some hits. She lasted a decent while, but she did eventually go down. But even though she dies, the point is I would have preferred spending those attacks killing the Tanukis. My hope was that I could produce an endgame scenario where I had more Tanukis than he did. Both of our queens were dead, and I could leverage my greater number of Tanukis on the board. That was my hope for the endgame. And at some point, as he was losing Tanukis, as he lost Raylin, he moved his Maladrix down this way, and my Maladrix was right here. And there was a moment, I think his Maladrix, for some reason, wanted to go down here, maybe to take out Tanukis or get rid of some bugs. My Maladrix had an opportunity to grab height on his Maladrix, and I thought, this is the World Championship. You're never going to get your opponent is never going to let you get height on him again. This is your one shot to do a double whammy, attack on Maladrix. 2 attacks of 5. This is it. These attacks have got to get through her armor. And I rolled twice, and on both occasions, he blocked, and that felt that felt punishing. That felt brutal. That I just said, dang it. Well, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. We'll slug it out on even level and see whose dice are better. And then he got onto even level with me, and then he dropped his double attack from Maledrix, and this just hurt. Both of his attacks produced wounds, and I think he got my Maledrix down to two life or 1 life, and I thought, dang it, man. My height attacks didn't go through, but even whatever. It's a dice game. You surrender to the dice gods and you accept. And I don't want to blame the dice either. I think that's just poor etiquette. But I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you other than my dice on that height attack were not favorable, and then his were on the even level. So once I took those hits, my Maledrix, I think she gave one more good charge to try to take out some of his wounds on his Maledrix, and she just couldn't get through. She might have put 1 or 2 wounds, but not enough to kill. And then his Maledrix finished off my Mal. Interestingly, I think we both did infest each other's Maledrixes, but it didn't matter. Neither of us got the pop, and it was just melee fighting, and his Maledrix overpowered mine. And then at that point, I had a couple of Tanukis left, and I think I had my last Tanuki, my last figure, was right up here on this little height spot, and at that point, just got surrounded by Honor Guard and Maledrix, and at that point it was game. So with that, because day 3 is single elimination, I was out of the World Championship. That was it. That was as far as I was going to go. And Bowtie Jones, it was a pleasure playing you. You're a great sport and a great player, and I hope that we can face each other again, rematch again on the fields of Valhalla. So it was great. And then he advanced. I did not. I fell back. And so with that, that was the end of my performance in the World Championship. So my final score across all 7 games was 3 wins, 4 losses, and I finished in 31st place. So top 32 players make it to day 3. My final position was 31st. So I would have liked to have gone a little farther, but it is what it is, and I did technically achieve my goal, and I felt great about that. So these were some intense, fierce games with the best in the world, and just incredibly good players. They brought an incredibly high level of play, and they really forced me to bring my A game as well. And it was I just feel, even though I didn't win most of my games, I still feel I probably bumped up my skill just a little bit by being exposed to that high level of play. So it was a real pleasure, and I was walking away from that day feeling happy with a big old dumb smile on my face. And then of course we can talk about I should mention too, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Brandon, who also made it to day 3. How did Brandon do? Well, Brandon also was eliminated on his first game. So unfortunately, Team SoCal, we did make it to day 3, but we got booted out in that first game of day 3, and that it was sad. But hey, we fought hard, and Brandon ended up doing 20th place in the overall rankings of day 3. So he, out of everyone in Team SoCal, he went the farthest. So congrats to Brandon for that. And then again, this is old news, but for anyone who was following the World Championship, Bodacious Blood, someone who I played earlier, who I had that lucky win on, he would go on. He was a very good player. He went on to face off against Nick Elder in the final the final round of the World Championship. And unfortunately, I did not see that live. I got stuck in the vendor hall. I was crowded. I was in the crowds, and I just wasn't there to witness it. But Nick Elder did eventually take that, and Nick Elder was crowned the 2025 World Champion. So we should soon be seeing a hero with his name anagrammed on it. So congrats to Nick Elder, congrats to Bodacious Blood, and congrats to everyone who advanced into day 3. So yeah, it was a real spectacle. It was a real pleasure to be there, and it was kind of a dream come true for this starry-eyed kid who grew up with Heroscape to finally have gone. It was a joy. It was a real blast. But one thing I do want to bring up, there were people from all over the Heroscape community, from all over the country, who were attending this, and I met lots of great people. I met Sir Heroscape, I met Board Hero, I met Roguescaper, the great painter Roguescaper, I met Hex Holla, and I met the whole group. I met a ton of people, and one of the people that I met was a man whose handle is Tales of Valhalla. You may have heard of him. So in the same way that I knew about GenCon growing up, when I was a kid and when I was, first getting into Heroscape, Tales of Valhalla was still doing his series on YouTube. And I remember as a kid watching some of his stop motion videos on YouTube. He's been doing it for that long. He really has. And it was genuinely surreal to shake his hand, meet him, talk with him. And we said, hey, man, do you want to play a game? Do you want to play a game of Heroscape? And we said, absolutely, absolutely. And so we played a fun, goofy game on basically, as the day 3 was moving, they were, the number of players who were actually competing was getting smaller and smaller. So there were a bunch of free maps toward the back. And I asked one of the judges, hey, can we just play a free game on that map? And they said, sure, go for it. So we had a fun idea. He brought a bunch of VC units. And so we said, well, why don't we do Hive Wars? A battle of the Skordire Hive and a battle of the Amber Hive Protectors, the bees. And so he brought 5 squads of Amber Hive. He brought Mellifera, 3 Crypt Guardians who can, they can bond with her, weirdly, Otanashi, and then 2 Command Couriers. He had 27 figures, 28 hexes. Who cares? Didn't matter. Who cares? It's a casual game. And then I brought the full list at the time of Skordire. Oathbound, Legionnaires, the Phalanx, Festering Honor Guard, Queen, and then Thyraxis. And so I only had 12 figures, 14 hexes. So I thought, I don't know if I can beat this. I don't know if I can beat this swarm of bees. But it was a chance to have fun and play something goofy to lighten the mood. So yeah, we played on this map here. This was the Reifier. The map is Reifier by Sheep. And again, I don't remember a great deal about it. But obviously he moved in a lot of his bees. There was a lot of fighting around this rock here. I remember the Phalanx, which I do have a lot of fun playing. I was able to drop a bunch of Legionnaires around here, and they were able to choke up spaces and claim height away from Tails. I think a lot of his bee attacks just didn't go through, and I was able to kill bees shortly after. I think I got a couple of maddening chitters. This is not my paint job of Thyraxis, by the way. I think he lent me this, and so that was cool to play with that one. But I got a couple of maddening chitters, so I got a couple of lucky free turns where I was able to double turn against him. And you can see here he's got 1 card for all of his Crypt Guardians, and those here are just to tell the different Crypt Guardians apart. But as it came down toward the end game, it was basically a couple Command Couriers versus, I think my Maladrix was still alive. And the crazy thing was the Command Couriers, they kept dodging, and they lasted a really long time. But surprisingly, eventually I did win. I was kind of surprised. I didn't expect that to happen. But in any case, it was a real joy playing you, Tails, and it was a real joy getting to talk to you and meet you. And I hope down the road at a future convention or some Heroscape event, some Heroscape summit, we can play again, because I would love to rematch. So I just wanted to mention it. Not a competitive game, but a game with a YouTuber that I never thought I would ever meet in person. So that I thought was really, really cool. And so then finally for day 3, I was pretty tired for that day, but I tried one more time for Vengeance for Valhalla. This is a mid-game shot of the scenario. I wanted to get one more Raylin figure for a buddy of mine to bring back home with me, and I think we played hard, and I think we still lost. Or I was playing the what is it? I forget if I was playing the Heroes team, and we did lose this game still. But it's a fun scenario, and it's visually pretty spectacular, seeing these tall towers and stuff. So got one more Raylin to take home, and it was a really, really great time. And so with that, let's talk about some of the takeaways from the event overall. And these are things I was thinking about on my flight back out of Indianapolis. And on that flight out, I just there was this sort of almost like a sadness. It was sad to leave that event because it was an expense to fly out there, and I made the expense because I had qualified for day 2 with the buy. But it was a time commitment. It was an expense, and it's something that I don't think I can, because of that expense. I really don't think I can do this every year, and so I wasn't sure when the next time would be that I would get to go to GenCon, but I appreciated the time that I was able to go this year. So we'll talk about some of the takeaways. First one is never underestimate the importance of a good night's sleep, hydration, and a good breakfast. Had I gone into day 2 with only 1 or 2 hours of sleep from my red-eye flight, I'd have performed much worse. It's true. And I learned that with the first Vengeance of Valhalla game. I played in that poorly, and I cannot imagine playing that. I cannot imagine playing competitively on day 2, running on fumes like I did. Oscar, incredibly, he made it to day 2 competing straight off of his flight in day 1. So, I mean, if that isn't a test of skill, I don't know what is. So, congrats to Oscar for pulling that off. And then, if you want to be competitive, if you want to win, and this is very intuitive, but it bears repeating. You must know your meta. That means putting in the time and reps for practice. Know what units are strong. Know what builds are strong. It's not enough to decide on the army you're running. You then need to test that against other armies you expect will show. Assuming you'll see how it goes when you get there is a recipe for defeat. I didn't appreciate the threat of Acolytes /Q11 and didn't have a plan in place to deal with it. I faced it 4 times and paid for it. So, for whatever reason, I just did not do the theory crafting work to anticipate the threat of Acolytes Q11. And I didn't take the time. We practiced many, many games in our group, but we just didn't focus heavily on Acolytes Q11. And I didn't focus heavily on it in my own personal practice. And I paid for it because I faced that army 4 times. 4 times. So this is the World Championship, no one is going to accuse you no one is going to criticize you for being sweaty. This is the tournament you are sweaty for. You have to play hard, you have to practice hard, and you have to put in that practice, and you have to study hard. And so if you didn't foresee that this army was going to be strong, that's on you, and that was on me. So it's intuitive. It goes for every tournament, but especially for when are the stakes higher than in the World Championship? So in a scenario like this, you really have to do that work to anticipate the threats that you'll be facing that day and develop plans for it with the army that you plan to run. So next up is just acknowledging that the Acolytes were a seriously impressive unit, even when only drafted in one squad, in one instance. Acolytes are an interesting case where they are a common squad. You can theoretically have more than one squad, but it's really rare that you do want that. If you have any examples of where you seriously would bring more than one squad of Acolytes in a competitive tournament setting, I would like to know the details, because this is a strange unit in that they're extremely competitive, but they're competitive at only one squad, and I just think that's really interesting. The dice rerolling is a mechanic Renegade Heroscape seems keen on exploring and is a powerful tool to tilt the dice odds in your favor. I failed to kill an opponent's 1-life Maledrix due to a defense reroll, which cost me that game, indeed. So, it does seem like dice rerolling is something we're going to see more of in contemporary Heroscape, and Acolytes are an example of how powerful it can be, especially in some of those really strong Revna heroes. So, certainly a force to be reckoned with. And then finally, the Tanukis. Something we should say, too, I mentioned that Nick Elder was the one who took the World Championship. So he faced Bodacious Blood, and Bodacious Blood had the Maledrix, Honor Guard, Q11, and Acolytes army. That was the army I faced 4 times, and I was only able to beat it once, and then only on dumb luck. And so in my mind, I thought, yeah, man, I just don't know that Tanuki's Maledrix is well suited to fighting this army. But here's the thing. Nick Elder, to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but Nick Elder had the exact same army that I had. He had 4 Tanukis, Maledrix, and the Honor Guard, and he found a way to beat it. And I think that just speaks to his skill, speaks to the fact that he just put in the time he must have had a plan to fight the Acolytes in Q11. He must have. So, the Tanukis not only took the World Championship, but I don't know, they're a really impressive unit, and it's a unit I've come around on as seeing as strong. Now, whether or not they're up to par with some of the really strong new additions to Contemporary, like the Gallery or the Great Bows, or some of the new units that we have coming out, that's probably a question of format. But for this format, particularly before the Great Bows and Gallery, the Tanukis were clearly quite strong. Their movement freedom with Phantom Walk, auto development with Tanuki Aruki, forced enemy movement with Nagawaza, and solid overall stat line gave them a range of useful tools that helped me. And trust in Tanuki. I did feel good taking them, and honestly, in talking with other members of Team SoCal after the tournament, after the World Championship, we all did feel that Tanuki's was a good call, and so we were glad that we brought them. So anyway, folks, that is my summary, the long overdue summary of the GenCon 2025 World Championship. It was a true honor and pleasure to go. I met some great people there. If I got a chance to play with you, thank you for being gracious enough to play with me and bear with my nonsense. I would love to go to this again. It was a real treat. Finances permitting, I would love to go to this to Gen Con again in the future. It was a great time. And so I guess a final note on just this overall series of Heroscape Tournament Diaries. I was really enjoying making these, and I liked the format of doing it as a little PowerPoint and getting really into the nitty gritty. But there's a couple of reasons why, if we're not going to end it outright, we're going to severely reduce it. Personally, I would kind of like to end it outright. I think we had fun experimenting with it this year, but I think it's time. I think it's outlived its welcome on the channel, and I think we now have to kind of bid it farewell, and I think this is a good time to do it with the World Championship recap. But the first thing is, as a YouTuber, you care about views and you care about view count, and you look at the view count, and there just seemed to be not as much interest in these videos as some of the other stuff I do. And so there was that element of like, maybe people are getting fatigued with these videos. Maybe they don't like them as much, and they kind of would wish I returned to some of the stuff I did in the past, like the tier list videos and all the hours and effort I'm putting into these silly little tournament recaps. Maybe they'd prefer I do it on more scripted videos. And so that is my plan for 2026, is to pivot more into scripted content. And that's honestly, it's content that I feel more proud of when I work on those. It feels like it's an accomplishment when I make those. I have to really take time to write a good script. I'm not using AI for any of it. This is all human made. I make the scripts and I read them, and I don't know. I like those videos more. And so I'm going to start making those more often in 2026. But I think the other thing is that I was playing so much competitive Heroscape that I just could not keep up. My goal was I wanted to cover every single tournament I attended in 2025, and after Gen Con, I couldn't keep up. I went to a couple more tournaments and I said, yeah, it's just not feasible. I can't keep doing this. So if we continue this series, I think it's probably only going to be for major events. Like if I go to World Championship again, maybe I'll do another one of these recaps. If I go to a Valkyrie trial, maybe I'll do that. But for local tournaments, I just don't have the time for it. So to those of you who enjoyed this series, I'm sorry that we have to kind of bid it farewell, but I hope that you have enjoyed what you've seen of it, and I hope they were informative. And there are other people besides me doing battle reports, and frankly, I think they do a better job than me. And there's like Chris Perkins, the legendary Chris Perkins. He's got a channel where he goes into great detail about some of his games. Highly recommend that. Scape has done battle reports kind of in this same style that I'm doing, and those are really great too. So there are other places to get your fix of these battle reports, and so maybe I'll come back to it, maybe I won't, but at this stage I think it's time to pivot back to some of the original content of this channel and some of the things that we started this channel out with. So hope you can all appreciate that, but at least we're ending it on the World Championship. It was a real delight going to this. Team SoCal, all of you guys, it was a real pleasure practicing and playing with you guys, and I do hope that we can do it again in the future. And so I think my Heroscape burnout, I will slowly recover from that. I'll slowly get back into it in 2026, and I hope to have more great content for you guys then. Until that time, have a very, very happy New Year, everyone. Hope the best for all of you guys, and we will be in touch. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Happy New Year. And as always, Scape on.